All right, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a good lunch. We certainly did over here. Lots of great conversations with our presenters over lunch, and really closing that knowledge gap that we know exists in how we support Black entrepreneurs in our ecosystem here. Again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Charles Nyabeze, and I'm the Executive Director of the Northern Ontario Black Economic Empowerment Program. And in the afternoon session, we've got a keynote speaker, and we've got McDonald, who I'm going to introduce to you right now. So Mark is with a company called Moonbeam Trading Company and has expertise and provides services and products in technology, agri-foods, e-commerce, and also in the import and export business. Moonbeam Trading Company has established businesses connections in Northern Ontario and are currently working at establishing their head office. Their focus is to grow their business operations and invest in Northern Ontario, and as they provide long-term employment to local residents, especially members of the Black community. So, Mark, we've invited you here today to share with us some thoughts that you have about business and to share some of your experiences. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Mark. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Charles, and thank you for having me at this event. And one of the things I really want to share with our community is that in 2023, as we go into 2023 and leaving 2022, I think it's really going to be a turning point year for our community as it relates to business. There's never been a better time to be in business, particularly in Northern Ontario and here in Canada. And I certainly want us to be able to focus on seizing the opportunity where there may be a lot of hesitation in business moving forward. So just a little bit about how I started the company here. I spent a number of years in the technology space, technology sector, with a variety of roles. And one of the things that constantly bothered me and challenged me was that I was not going to be able to leave the company I worked for to my kids or to my grandchildren. I wasn't going to be able to build that generational wealth that comes with owning a business and with passing down a legacy business that has really been establishing much of the wealth globally and here in North America here. So it really drove me to look at the business here. And part of the things that really pushed me forward was the fact that there's so much need in the Black community in terms of mentoring our youth, in terms of being able to support our community that can be solved and in some ways addressed by owning companies and businesses. So as Charles mentioned, we're in 4 lines of business here. One is the technology space. And in the technology space, just to show you how challenging it can be to move into business, the first 2 months I was in business, we had a huge opportunity to be able to land a major contract with a very large technology company and municipality here in Ontario. We'd already signed the agreement. We were ready to move forward with the deal, but it only needed one final approval. And 3 days afterwards, the entire contract was canceled. So this is 2 weeks into business here. So just to show you how challenging business can be, approximately 3 months later, we put a proposal on the table to buy a small company, which would have allowed us to be able to employ probably 25 to 30 people in the logistics and products and marketing and e-commerce space. We had tabled the offer with the company, and once again, the offer fell through. And this was about a $10 million offer. So we had financing in place, but I'm pointing this out for a reason. The first 2 business opportunities we had fell through. I could have easily quit. I could have easily said, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to be able to be successful in business and turn around. But we didn't do that. We kept going forward. So that's just an example of some of the challenges in business. So one of the things I want to share with you is we've been in business since 2018. This is now going into 2023, 5 years. We've come through some very challenging times. And I just want to share a few ideas around what I did and how we kept moving forward with the business. So the one key piece that I want to share with everyone, and it's very important to focus on this, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. I will say that again. Many times we've been preconditioned not to believe in ourselves in our community. That we've been told we can't do it. And in our heads, we say, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to be successful. We have that imposter syndrome to a certain degree. So you have to believe in yourself and share your ideas with your family. You have to let your family know, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Here's why I'm doing it. I want to do this for not only myself, not only financially, but for our family and for our community. Maybe your partner sees it, maybe they don't, but you've given them respect of sharing that idea. That has been very successful for me going forward in business. The second piece that I've really focused on in the business is really being able to grow my network. And when I say my network, if you look at organizations such as this Entrepreneur Center, this is a prime area to build your network. Networks are critical. It's who you know in business. Sometimes you may plan on meeting one individual and end up meeting 5 other individuals. You never know where the assistance, financing, customer base, or even support and mentoring may come from. So you have to grow your network. That's critically important. If you're in a financial services business or you're in a business with clothing, don't hesitate to expand your network with people who may be in logistics or maybe in something totally unrelated. You don't know where your business is going to come from. So that's a second key area that I really want you to focus on. I would say the third one is really going to be, don't let lack of funding stop you. You have to keep in mind, in our community, funding has been a challenge. The federal government has provided funding, the provincial government, as well as some municipal government, but can we rely on that? You can't rely on it consistently. It is there. We should avail ourselves of that, and we should be able to take advantage of that financing and that funding where it's available. But don't let the lack of funding stop you. Our people in our community have always been resilient. We've always worked hard to come through difficult times. You have to be able to have the I can push forward and do this mentality. And in order to do that, you have to have a solid plan. You have to focus on a plan. You have to have your plan in place. That means a marketing plan. How am I going to market? How am I going to find my customers? Who are my customers? Do I even know what my customer base is? Am I in a business that is going to be viable in my particular region or my particular city or my particular area, even though I have a passion for what I may want to do? So you have to have a solid plan. That includes a financial plan. How am I going to make sales? What do I project my expenses to be? How am I going to bring together my suppliers as well as my customers or people that are going to help facilitate the other parts of my business there? We all aren't great at putting business plans together. Once again, organizations such as this have the assistance and ability to help you shape a plan. And one of the things you learn in business is you're not good at everything. So you focus on what you're good on. The things you aren't good on, you outsource those things. You go to people that are good at marketing. I'm terrible at marketing. I couldn't sell anything. But I connect with people who are very, very good at marketing. They do an amazing job. I give them the vision. Here's what we want to accomplish, and here's how we move forward with a number of the things that we want to be able to do in our business there. So that's a key piece of that, having that sustainable business plan moving forward. But one of the things I really want to share with everyone is you're not just building a business, you're building an ecosystem, and that's really critically important. Part of what we have to build in business is a resilient ecosystem in our community here. So we have to be able to build financing where we're starting to reinvest in our own businesses. We have to be able to build out the ecosystem where we have people in all sectors of business and in different areas of the economy so that we have a very diverse, very strong, very resilient, and lasting business. The objective is to keep you in business, to get you started in business, give you the supports that you need in business, and you have to be sustainable. You have to keep in mind, business is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Even though I've been in business for the past 5 years, we've been able to be successful through the pandemic. Many businesses have not. But what a lot of people don't know is I spent 30 years prior to this in the private sector, in businesses that I was successful in and businesses that weren't as successful. I learned a lot of very critical lessons about that, and we've been able to share those lessons with a number of people here. So it's longevity that we're looking for in business. We have to focus on the larger piece of this, which is, again, building that ecosystem, building that broader strategy here for the community. You have to give back to the community, which is another piece. Shortly before coming here, one of the things our business does is that we hire individuals that are from different walks of life. Some people have come out of graduate school that work for us. Other people have come out of incarceration that work for us, or maybe they've been challenged by substance abuse. They're all employees. We brought them into the company here. Everyone deserves multiple challenges, and that's one of the philosophies I built the company on, is let's look at the person. Let's put people at the center of the business and not just focus on the finances of it. And the rewards, I can tell you, are exponential. Is it easy to run a business? Is it easy to stay in business? It's not. Some aspects are easy, other aspects are very difficult. You have to really be disciplined. You have to look at your goals, set your goals, and stay focused on them. And there's a lot of things that are shifting constantly. You have to constantly revisit the goals you have in your business. Many times you may revisit them 3 or 4 times a week, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. You have to reevaluate and constantly ask yourself, is this the right goal for the right time? Is it going to move me forward and help my business to grow? If it isn't, my advice is let it go. That's one thing I've learned. Do not hang on to something that is not going to move your business forward. There are a lot of distractions, but you have to stay focused on your goal, and you have to meet the challenges. So business is extremely rewarding. You're able to set your own compensation. Many times in the business, I have not been compensated at all. I paid my suppliers, I paid my employees, and Mark did not make any money. It wasn't any money in my pocket, but I looked at the big picture. We're moving a business forward. And the other thing that I really want to share with our community is the fact that your presence, being in business, your presence at organizations, symposiums, seminars, at collective workshops for specific industries is critical. The reason it's critical is because you get that cross-pollination of support that's necessary to grow the business. But you have to keep in mind another thing. Young people are watching. Maybe it's that young girl that's 5 years old. Maybe that's a young guy who's 9 years old. But he sees you. You look like him. And so it is critical. You have to start working with our young people to build business. You don't start when they're 21 years old or when they have their graduate degree. You start when they're 5 or 6. So one of the things we do is we mentor young men in terms of business. And one of the things I tell them is bring your kids to these sessions because I want your kids to hear Dad doing business. And it's the same way for women in our community. Women need to mentor women in business. There needs to be a very strong presence of women in our community that are business owners. Women bring a different dynamic to business. They bring a different dynamic to leadership, and it's very influential. And many of the challenges we face in our society, I believe it's necessary for entrepreneurs to step up and start really playing a major role in trying to support our communities here. And then you get to the area of financing. We can have the best business plan in the world. You can have the best idea in the world. But how do you do it? You need money. And you have to have money to move this forward here. I've been in discussions with a number of business owners who have survived the so-called 5-year mark, who've gotten over that 5-year mark in business. And one of the things I've said to them is we can't have the attitude that we've climbed the mountain and we will allow other people to climb their own mountain. We have to turn around and reinvest in our community. That means us sitting around collectively and saying, how much money are we going to invest to offset the challenges that we face in financing with traditional institutions? We have to be able to finance our own businesses and reinvest in those communities here. Part of that reinvestment entails owning real estate. Part of it entails owning land. If you stop and think, everything that is around us, from churches to homes to factories, are on land. And if you own land, it builds wealth. And we have to own land to be able to build the wealth in our community. So moving forward with that, and as you look at your own business plans, your own ambitions around business, one of the things I definitely want to share with you is that you can do it. It is possible for you to do it. Don't question yourself. Will it be difficult? Yes. Is it going to be work? Absolutely. But the rewards are just exponential. And it is absolutely rewarding and fulfilling when you mentor an individual, or you see success in a particular project, or you see your family members or your community respond to something that you've been able to do. Remember, the more wealth we have, the more we can help others, as well as our family members and ourselves here. So that's a key piece here, and I just really want to take the time to thank Charles and his group for being able to put this together. It takes a lot of work to put an event like this together. And it is a catalyst to be able to move forward in terms of expanding and growing the businesses that we have in our community here. So stay focused on what you're doing. There's a huge amount of opportunities. There's a lot of sensitivity around interest rates and pending recessions. However, you don't have to worry about that. Those things are going to come and go. But what you focus on is building a resilient, lasting business. Make sure you educate yourself. Make sure you build your network. Make sure you share it with your family. And the final thought on this is you have to take care of yourself. Business is demanding. It's demanding financially. It's demanding psychologically and emotionally. So that's emotional health. That is your physical health, your spiritual health. You have to take care of yourself to be able to do business and reap the benefits of business. So Charles, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, Mark, that was a lot that you unloaded on us there. Thank you so much for sharing just these principles, that are so key in business. Mark, you know what? I took some notes while you were talking. I just feel that maybe I should restate some of the things you said in case someone is coming in late or they just want to hear again from someone else's perspective, from a listener's perspective. So look, I think you hit it bang on, take care of yourself, right? Your health, your spiritual health. Without your body working properly, you're not going to be able to be useful to anybody. And I think, that spiritual piece also comes in, gives you peace of mind and ability to think straight and to think right. I love what you said about building a lasting business. Don't build a business. And this is a teaching that I'm starting to understand more and more from looking at the indigenous cultures. That whole idea of building it for the next generation and the next generation. Right. I think that's really important. That legacy is so important. I liked how you kind of brought to light the idea that there are black entrepreneurs and black people who have climbed that mountain, but who are sort of hidden out there and unable to share who they are and what the experiences are with others. So mentorship is so important. Absolutely. Right? And I think that goes into the broader community, is that mentorship piece to get that going in a more useful way. And again, being an example is important. I also liked how you said that learn to let go of things that are not aligned with where you're going, right? And I think that's so important. And personally, I've even come across a place in my life where even certain friends you have to sort of say, this is not working, right? We need to move in a different direction. So thank you for sharing that truth. Thank you for sharing the idea of staying focused. I think that's critical to moving things forward. Love how you said people first. Put people first. People are at the center of the business. I think that's fundamental. It's true for what we're doing here. People are first in everything that we're doing here as well. I love the idea of giving back to the community. Thank you for sharing that truth as well. I think we need people like yourself coming out, sharing who you are with this community. That's so important. Love how you said business is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Love that a lot. It takes time to get to where we want to get to in business, and we have the patience necessary to do that. I also like how you said build an ecosystem around your business. I think that's so important. And I can see that if I look at all the successful businesses in this town, they have an ecosystem around them that makes them successful. Love how you also said you're not good at everything. So learn to just recognize that you're not going to be amazing at everything. So give skills where they belong to other people. And then another thing you said here was have a solid plan. I really liked how you emphasized that marketing plan, that financial plan. That's so important. And the last three things you said that I really liked was the idea of funding. It's important to have funding, right? Have a network, create a network, grow your network. And the first thing you said that I really loved was you have to believe in yourself and your ability to do things. So Mark, I've said a couple things back at you. Any lasting parting thoughts before we go to our next session?
Well, the only last thought that I have with this is, again, I truly think 2023 is going to be a turning point year for our community. We have a number of organizations such as this that have spent the last 2 to 2.5 years educating through seminars, through workshops. We've looked at different forms of financing, but I think 2023 is really going to be a traction year for the Black community, where we start seeing businesses launching at a rapid rate and then expanding. So I think even the type of supports we give them is going to shift in 2023. We've educated them, now they're going to launch, now they're in action, and we're going to have to support them in a different way.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.